What kind of technology would provide a relationship that would have the qualities we've been talking about this morning? Whereas what kind of external technology, what kind of relationship to the outside world through computers, and I'm going to demonstrate computers, but I don't mean to be restricted to it. What kind of relationship to technology in the world would result in a quality of exercise that would change this inner interface, make this inner interface more learning oriented? What would its qualities be? So that was the starting point of this inquiry into technology. And one of the places that was quite inspirational in how we approached the design of it, in addition to this kind of inquiry that we have, was the study of children playing Nintendo games I mentioned earlier. That what I found, and I won't spend too much time on it, is that little children really flock to these things. I mean, I don't know how many Nintendos there are, here, and what kind of age ranges are using them. But generally, as I said earlier, a year ago, 30 million Nintendo machines had been sold in the United States. And the majority of the users of these things are children in the 4 to 9-year-old range. It's not the teenagers, they kind of burn off and go on to other things. It's the little kids, and they love the responsiveness. So I started to ask the question, which is partly written up in the article, what is it that makes these Nintendo machines so engageable? Now, I don't care about whether or not we could argue that there's some goods and bads to them playing with the guns and the bang-em-ups and all the different themes that pervade the games. But what I found when I kind of dropped through a warp into sync with a bunch of kids playing this, that I hooked up to VCR and microphones so I could study them a little bit, was that what was happening for them is that every time they played the game, they would quickly get to some point where they were up against it. They were up against the game. They were challenged. They were up against something they couldn't easily get through. And right at that point, when they were challenged, two things could happen. Either the game was sufficiently outside of their range, it was too complex, what was required of them to get through the obstacle was too complex, in which case their frustration would develop to a point and they'd say, I don't like this game, they'd put it away, or they'd find another game, they'd just forget it, shine it on. Or the game would have in it, and this is what makes Nintendo work, a series of resources, right? A series of things that the kids could find their way to. They could kind of freeze the real world of the game playing, freeze it, pause, and then travel to effectively another area in the game where there'd be a series of resources, hammers and potions and ladders and magic rafts and a wizard they could talk to, or whatever, resources. But they could grab this thing, come back to where this problem was and apply it, see if that would figure out how to get through it. And because it wasn't about, this is what was so amazing to me, it wasn't about whether it was about the Turtles or Batman or there was all kinds of different themes that are popular with kids. It wasn't about the themes. It wasn't the fact that Nintendo had all that great a color or all that great a sound. It was the fact that these kids were taken to the edge of being challenged. They were right in the edge of their frustration, and right while they were in their frustration, the system empowered them to go find resources and bring them back to operate on their frustration. And when they did, they would blow through and they'd go to the next thing, and the whole cycle would start over again. So that cycle of being challenged and frustrated and being able to use the resources, being able to intuitively navigate to resources and then bring them back to bear was what I saw that was really bringing these kids into playing these games. And of course, as you start to see that, you can see that that's what they like about most games, all the other games in the world as well. But Nintendo was allowing them to do this at what I would consider a frequency range, a high-speed dance that the rest of the world wasn't allowing. I mean, Nintendo was like a great dog, right? They could just go forever of being in this dance, of being frustrated, challenged, move, move, move.